Mm-hmm.
And now back to Jaws 5, Fire Island.
You think we should be this far out? Stop worrying, Mark. We'll be fine.
Hey, I'm gonna eat y'all. I'm gonna eat that hairy leg. I'm gonna eat that one too. Hope I can see right up them shorts. I got a whole bunch of rosy teeth to chew you with. Dinah, Dinah, Dinah. Oh, now, wait a minute. I did have a chubby kid on a raft earlier today. It's okay, though. I've been swimming a lot lately. Yummy.
Peter.
Peter, you're getting eaten by a shark, Peter.
Lowish. There you go. So
that's the best Family Guy themed shark comedy since the movie The Meg. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke. And this week we are celebrating the 50-year anniversary of the release of the movie Jaws. Are there any relevant movies coming out to explain why we're reviewing this now? Or is it, 50-year anniversary is a very good excuse anyway, but I'm not missing something, am I, Luke?
No, well, we have to do it in the summer because as we will go into, Jaws was the first it was the prototypical summer blockbuster.
Yeah, and also it made people afraid to go in the ocean, and that's not really a thing in the winter.
Yeah, it did. I wasn't actually going to talk about that, to be honest, but yeah, that is something that is quite a legacy of the film is that people were scared to go in the ocean because of this movie. Okay, so Jaws is a 1975 American thriller film directed by Steven Spielberg, based on the 1974 novel by Peter Benchley. Yeah, this is all that Spielberg does, isn't it? He takes really popular novels and turns them into movies. He bastardizes them. We all remember his adaptation of Billy and the Clonosaurus Rex.
Exactly.
And what he turned that into.
Schindler's List, when he pretended that Hitler actually did the things he talked about in Mein Kampf.
Yeah,
he adapted that fiction novel.
Yeah. So Jaws is directed by Steven Spielberg. The screenplay is, of course, by Peter Benchley and Cole Gottlieb. And it stars Roy Schneider, Robert Shaw, Richard Dreyfuss, Lorraine Gary, and Murray Hamilton. It was released on June the 20th, 1975. So yeah, we are over a month away from its actual 50-year anniversary. But we had superhero movies to review. And of course, those are always more important.
Yep.
So yeah. Now, Michael, can you guess what the budget was for Jaws?
Oh, now that's an interesting question, isn't it? Because it seems like this movie had some stuff going on, like it had to be filmed at the sea. The issue is, it's that classic, there's things going on and it was at a specific time when I have to work out. I'm going to say, 30 million.
Okay, that is an insane guess. What the fuck? This isn't like the 1990s, Michael, is it? It's the 1970s.
I know. So, but I thought maybe they spent loads. I don't know. I was thinking 30 million was translated to 60 million in 1975 money.
Well, what 30 million? Sorry, what?
So I was thinking with inflation, so basically at the time spending 30 million then would have been like spending 60 million on a movie now. So that's not unheard of.
Do you think things are just twice as expensive as they were in the 1970s?
More is what is inflation since 1975?
It's going to be at least 5 times.
Let's see. Oh wait, okay, £100 in 1975 would now be worth £1,000. Okay, so it's literally 10 times more.
It's 10 times more. And
okay,
you thought
and I guess I don't think this movie costs an equivalent to 300 million.
Okay.
I would like to revise my answer down to, I'm going to say, see, the thing is, I still want to go reasonably high. I was going to say 12 million. It just seems crazy. Was it even less than that?
Yeah, but you're not too far off there. Okay. So the budget was 9 million.
Okay,
again,
cool.
So you got to think as well, which I know is hard for you. But I did say before this was the prototypical summer blockbuster. So what does that mean?
It means they didn't have blockbusters before then, so they wouldn't have spent as much money on it. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I had to. I think if I'd fully known just how much, Keir Starmer had ruined the economy, I would have realized how much less valuable our money is now.
Okay, yeah. There's another week goes by where you embarrass yourself, but let's see if you do the same with the box office. And this is going to be good.
Okay, so I know this movie. I mean, you very clearly implied this movie made a significant amount of money. But I just
Which mean
gotta think.
why did I play it? What?
Oh well, because you said like the proto blockbuster. Like, and also just for record, I know this movie made a significant amount of money. Like, this was, I believe I'm right in saying, the highest grossing movie of all time when it came out.
Right, so you didn't actually need me to imply that.
I didn't need you to imply it, but you have implied it as well.
But you already knew it was already the highest grossing movie
I already
ever.
knew it was the highest grossing movie of all time.
That's great.
And I guess replaced by Star Wars would be my guess. There we go.
You're right. Well done. Well done.
Which in turn was replaced by E.T.
And was in turn replaced by
Return of the Jedi. Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi.
No.
Wait, okay, was that... Oh, was E.T., was it... Oh, fucking hell, I might be so... Oh, Jurassic Park.
Yeah, well done.
Okay, and then Phantom Menace?
No.
Or just Phantom Menace was... Oh, fucking Titanic! Oh my god. There we go. I missed the most... Because I forgot it was a bloody... I was just thinking about Spielberg and Lucas. Anyway, okay, so... So this is an interesting one because inflation would suggest that if this movie made 100 million, that's equivalent to it making $1 billion today. But then, like, it was only the first blockbuster. No, yeah, and that wouldn't make any sense, right? Because it must be adjusted for inflation, and yet it's been superseded by other movies. So I guess this movie made, like, what, 70 million? Like, I guess that would give enough leeway for the other movies to overtake it? I guess? So I'll say 7. I don't want to go too low because it was, like, so famous, but I also can't go too high because, obviously, like I say, there were other movies that overtook it. So I'm going to assume, like, maybe this made 70, and then, like, Star Wars made, like, I don't know, 80, and then obviously...
Oh my god, shut the
fuck...
No, I can't stand your fucking... You present yourself as a smart person, but you're really not. You're really actually quite dumb, or you just lack the common sense. Because I was going to, like, mock you for the Jaws guess, but then... The Star Wars thing has really pissed me off because you got one thing wrong, then you go and get two things wrong, and you're a fan of Star Wars. So what do you, as if Star Wars, the phenomenon which was Star Wars, only grossed $80 million.
Why you throw me off with the inflation thing? Because I'm like,
that's only what it takes to make the movie. As you know, box office numbers can go as high as they'd like, depending on how popular the movie is. Okay, because there's not a limit to how many people can go see it.
Okay, but then that doesn't help me because I still don't know, like, because obviously it can't have been like it didn't make $1 billion in today's money, or it didn't make $1 billion.
I just checked by the way, and I thought Star Wars made 10 times your guess. By the way,
really, that's so interesting. But again, okay, fucking hell. You know what? I'm just realizing something. Because, sorry, I'm so stupid, because they probably adjust it for inflation in the Wikipedia. So that's kind of maybe why I'm being retarded.
No, they don't.
Oh, do they not? Oh, wait, so what? It made $850 million in 1973 money? That's crazy.
What? Sorry, what?
Wait, what did I say? I said it made 85 million, so 850. Yeah. Oh, I said 1973, because I'm an idiot. 1978.
Yeah, well, Star Wars was 1977. So let's just get... 1978,
let's ignore that. All right,
there's another
fucking
mistake.
Hell, the movie made, like, I don't know, so this movie made... okay, so now, like, you're saying, like, Star Wars made 850.
I'm not saying it. That's how much it made.
Yeah, now you're coming up with this theory, this hypothesis that Star Wars made.
It was actually less. It was actually 700 and something million, but whatever.
700 something. So I'm going to say this movie then made like 550 million.
Okay, see, that's a much better guess. The 70 million guess is probably one of your worst guesses of all time, and I can't believe we spent so much time on this. But again, it was the highest grossing movie ever. It made $477 million at the box office. So there you go. That's quite a bit higher than 70. How many times higher than 70? If we just do the maths quite quickly, 6 times, 6.5 times, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You're 6.5 times off. Great. So
good.
Yeah. This, and again, we're not going to dive into the box office and the success it had. I think everybody, is kind of aware. Well, actually, no, everybody's not aware clearly. But
well, I'm aware it was successful. I just didn't realize.
You just don't have any concept of what's going on when it comes to movie numbers.
I just didn't realize that people had invented invented inflation back then.
Yeah. Okay. So let us now get into whether we like Jaws. Michael, did you like Jaws?
I think this movie is pretty good. I think that it's fine. It's good. It's entertaining. I will say, for me, it's not as exciting as I thought it might be. Like the classic. I mean, we've already mentioned Family Guy. The Family Guy joke where they're making fun of Aquaman and like how if you're not in the water, then of course Aquaman just can't really do anything to you. That was something that like hung over me, and I was kind of thinking about this much better movie called Sharknado, where of course the sharks are able to actually get out of the water, and I was kind of thinking like there is a limit to how scary the shark can be when you could just Like they could just not go in the water. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's a solid movie. You said it was like a prototypical blockbuster. Yeah, I kind of feel like maybe blockbusters got a little bit more exciting than this. Personally, that's my take. There are some good moments and good filmmaking, but you know, I honestly I wasn't like super excited about this film, having watched it more than once.
Okay.
What do you think?
I don't really remember what I thought the first time I saw it, but seeing it again, I'm like, yeah, this actually is pretty damn good. And the thing is, of course, I've done a bunch of research on this movie, and you're gonna,
You haven't boned up, have you?
tell everyone the research. So yeah, basically, I think I have an appreciation for this movie because that line from that Phantom Menace review from Red Letter Media, why Mike Stoklasser or Mr. Plinkett respected George Lucas after he created
Because of the shit he went through.
Yeah, Star Wars, which was art through adversity. That may be not be the exact phrase he used, but art through adversity is it can make better arts than.
Yes, there are like limitations, and that means that people kind of get more creative with the way that they do things.
Yeah, and you also have a greater appreciation for the movie, given you know what they went through. It's just like this and Star Wars, of course. Spielberg and Lucas are friends. Star Wars came out 2 years later, and was building on what Jaws did in '75 as as a modern blockbuster. And both movies were so hard to create. But both of those movies were just so difficult to get onto the big screen. But once they did, everyone loved it. So yeah, it's they are two triumphs in that way. And that makes me have a greater appreciation for the movie because it is a good movie. Like that's the thing, people have said it's the best B movie of all time because it's just a big shark and they have to kill it. And the sharks, he keeps coming back in the third act. He wants a piece of them. He's just not satisfied with getting away. No, he wants revenge. Which is
this shark has a real personality to it.
Yeah, which is again a bit schlocky, but it's okay. I'll give the movie a pass for it. And yeah, obviously, with the context of what Spielberg went through, I think, it's really good. So I first want you to read, Michael, about the fact that it was the first blockbuster.
Okay. It is regarded as a watershed moment in motion picture history. Jaws was the prototypical summer blockbuster. It was the highest grossing film in history until the release of Star Wars 2 years later. Jaws was key in establishing the benefits of a wide national release backed by television advertising, rather than the traditional progressive release in which a film slowly entered new markets and built support over time. Saturation booking, in which a film opens simultaneously at thousands of theaters, and massive media buys are now commonplace for the major Hollywood studios. Jaws diminished the importance of print reviews, making it virtually impossible for a film to build slowly, finding its audience by dint of mere quality. Jaws whet corporate appetites for big profit quickly. Scholar Thomas Schatz writes that it recalibrated the profit potential of the Hollywood hit and redefined its status as a marketable commodity and cultural phenomenon as well. The film brought an emphatic end to Hollywood's 5-year recession, while ushering in an era of high-cost, high-tech, high-speed thrillers. So it's kind of interesting because reading that now, where of course everyone complains about these, like movies that get $250 million budgets and they get 1 trillion reshoots and the studio just puts all their eggs in that one basket and they somehow manage to make it crap. It's easy to like read that and think, damn you, Spielberg. But of course what's interesting is that actually after 1975, there were like, we still had a long while of decent movies before what would be considered blockbuster crap befell us.
Blockbuster saturation, maybe.
Exactly, saturation.
Yeah. Well, I think if you look at when blockbusters started to just dominate movies, it was post 1990s. It was basically when CGI got quite good, because that's the thing with these big blockbuster movies, as Thomas Schatz says. There is these movies are high cost, high tech, high speed thrillers. And that is true. I think the key thing with blockbusters is they need to have some sort of fantastical element to it. And basically the movies shouldn't be that realistic. Of course, Star Wars is the best example of that.
Yes.
E.T., Jurassic Park, and even, of course, nowadays, like we've just had Fantastic Four and Superman. And one of them is really fantastic. Which is Superman because it's a better movie. No, I don't know.
Yeah, one of them's really super, I would say, and that's also Superman.
So yeah, like the only movie, honestly, that has kind of bucked this trend is Titanic. in terms of a big blockbuster movie. I guess you could say like the Star Wars sequels, but they were based off prior, knowledge of Star Wars. Everybody likes Star Wars and knew Star Wars. But Titanic, it came out, of course, in December. Which is why it's kind of crazy it made so much money. But yeah, basically the highest grossing movies come out in the summer, and you're going to go into this in the next paragraph. But yeah, of course the key thing is through all of this we're kind of suffering from that. As you say, Spielberg kind of started something which was great, but now there's too much of it. And I think the winner of the winner of the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay, the guy who wrote American Fiction, in his Oscar acceptance speech, he said that instead of making one $200 million movie, make 10 $20 million movies instead. And that's what studios were doing up until this point, really. And it wasn't going too well. Maybe it would do okay nowadays, of course. There's a different context with everything. Everything is so different to the 70s. But yeah, basically studios still, they want to go back to old reliable, and this is where Old Reliable started, Jaws.
Absolutely, yes. And it started, as you said, Luke, in the summer. For you see, Jaws also played a major part in establishing summer as the prime season for the release of studios' biggest box office contenders. Their intended blockbusters in winter had long been the time when most hoped-for hits were distributed, while summer was largely reserved for dumping films thought likely to be poor performers. Jaws and Star Wars are regarded as marking the beginning of the new US film industry business model dominated by high-concept pictures, with premises that can be easily described and marketed, as well as the beginning of the end of the new Hollywood period, which saw auteur films increasingly disregarded in favor of profitable, big-budget pictures. The new Hollywood era was defined by the relative autonomy filmmakers were able to attain within the major studio system. In Biskin's description, Spielberg was the Trojan horse through which the studios began to reassert their power. That is a sentence that sounds very anti-Semitic in isolation.
Okay.
So it was the Trojan horse sneaking in there, and that's how the studios asserted their power. These big Hollywood studios.
No, but the thing is, Spielberg is Jewish, but the studios apparently are already owned by the Jews. So,
that's good. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's the difference?
Jew on Jew violence.
Well, not really. It's it's because
Jew on Jew cooperation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, there you go. But yes, obviously Spielberg was central to this new blockbuster era. I find this stuff really interesting in terms of like what changed movie history.
Yeah, have they ever made like a story about Jaws? Because they made that thing about Citizen Kane. I feel like Jaws is famous enough that it's one of those movies where you'd think they could make a movie about the movie.
I don't know. I doubt it. I think they've made
Luke.
I think they made documentaries about it. Honestly, they could make one about Titanic as well, given how crazy.
Yes, I feel like you mentioned that actually. When we reviewed Titanic, you were like, "Oh, they should make a."
Well, Titanic was crazy because it went through so much trouble with production, like this movie did. Again, about a massive disaster in the water. Well, this isn't really a disaster, but there's something about the ocean, that draws audiences in. But everyone thought Titanic was going to flop. It did not, of course. This movie, I don't think anyone thought was going to flop. Everyone thought it was going to be really good after seeing the final cut. And of course it did do very well. But yeah, it is just interesting to read back on how this was the start of the new Hollywood business model, which we are still living in today, and has gotten corrupted, I guess you could say. Or again, blockbusters that now just dominate everything, and auteur movies are pushed to the sidelines, and it's gotten really bad, and it's all Spielberg's fault.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to be honest, I wish they would make 20 million dollar movies, because I feel like that could be more fun. I mean, to be honest, it's also worth noting that I think every now and then people just become retarded. You gotta like look at the movies and you gotta say, it's not really anything they're doing on a macroscopic level. On an individual level, they're just choosing to make terrible, terrible movies. And who knows why? Maybe because the rich people aren't actual human beings. They're weird pedophile demons.
Well, I don't know about that, Michael, but let's get into the plot anyway.
Yeah, let's talk about the real predator, not Jeffrey Epstein. Let's stop talking about him. When the seaside community of Amity, a New England summer resort town, finds itself under attack by a dangerous great white shark, the town's chief of police, Martin Brody, a young marine biologist, and a grizzled hunter embark on a desperate quest to destroy the beast before it strikes again. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Well, maybe it makes sense, because it's interesting that it's kind of a pretty small crew of people, but I guess actually that's what you want, because it makes it more exciting. It's kind of did you notice, and I feel like I'm not being wrong here, the movie's kind of quite neatly divided into two halves. There's the first hour, which is just people getting attacked and like the politics, and it's very like centered around the town itself, and then the second hour is very much centered around these three guys on a boat.
Yeah, it's the perfect 2-act structure. That's what they...
Yeah, that's what they said. This movie established the iconic 2-act structure that's still seen in blockbusters today.
Yeah, that's what they teach in film school. Again, the
Exactly.
3-act structure thing, you know, it's just like the most successful movie ever. Yeah, I literally did put that down in my notes. It's like the shark keeps attacking and like, oh shit, is the shark still there? What are we going to do about the shark? And then the second half is we go on the hunt. Like, Quint only shows up in an hour in, really. Of course, he has a couple of
he has
scenes.
that one scene. Yeah.
But yeah, he's a major character in the movie, but he's got 2 minutes of screen time in the first hour and 5 minutes. So yeah, it is a movie of contrasting halves in terms of what happens. But yeah, I think that's fine, honestly, because around the time of the third shark attack, I was like, right, come on, like we need. This needs to stop.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you too.
Yeah, this needs to stop now. And then, of course, the hunt. It goes on for a decent length of time. Like it's really quite well paced, which is another key thing. Like Spielberg knows how to pace a movie because he's quite a good director. So yeah, I think the plot is quite simple but effective. Of course, it was adapted from the novel. I think the key thing was, making sure the characters were good, which we will get into because that's a key element of why this movie does work quite well. But yeah, first let's talk about how this movie was created, because again, it kind of like Star Wars. Well, I don't know, kind of like Star Wars, but basically it almost didn't get made, or Spielberg almost didn't direct it, and it would have been, of course, very different and may not have changed movie history if this didn't happen. It really was kind of lightning in a bottle, as you will read out, Michael.
Yeah, so Richard D. Zanuck and David Brown, producers at Universal Pictures, independently heard about Peter Benchley's novel Jaws. Brown came across it in the lifestyle magazine Cosmopolitan, okay, wow, which at that time was edited by his wife, Helen Gurley Brown. Okay, he has a wife, that's really shocking. A small card written by the magazine's book editor...
Sorry, can I just say, I mean, he probably read the magazine because his wife edited it.
I was going to say.
That's probably why he read it, yes.
Yeah, coincidentally, as well as being a closeted gay man who reads the Cosmopolitan, his wife edited it. A small card written by the magazine's book editor gave a detailed description of the plot, concluding with the comment, "Might make a good movie." The producers each read the book over the course of a single night. I'm just imagining just you write that on anything and suddenly you get a massive blockbuster movie made.
Anyway. So the magazine's book editor needs a cut of that 470.
I know. Yeah, I was gonna say
yeah.
She was saying that to herself. She didn't even mean for it to be printed. She just wrote it as anyway. The producers each read the book over the course of a single night and agreed the next morning that it was the most exciting thing that they had ever read, and that they wanted to produce a film version. Brown claimed that if they had read the book twice, they would never have made the film, because they would have realized how difficult it would be to execute certain sequences. Now, it's kind of interesting to me, obviously, because when you watch the film, a lot of it is visual, but I guess actually maybe the author, I mean, I haven't read it, but maybe the author's really good at describing a shark attack in a really visceral way. Because my first instinct is to be well, it's just if a shark's attacking someone and you can't even see the shark attacking someone, I'm imagining in my what's the word, Neanderthal brain, it just says then the shark attacked and ate someone. To be fair, maybe actually it is really exciting.
I mean, the thing with the barrels, I imagine that was in the book. That was quite specific.
I thought you were going to say that seems like it would be really exciting. The thing with the barrels, the barrels.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, maybe not, because honestly, there's something later about Spielberg using the barrels extensively because it meant he didn't have to film the shark. But yeah, I think clearly this guy, the author Benchley, did some research and was this is how you'd catch a shark. So all of that kind of made its way into the book, and a lot of it made its way into the movie, I guess. Yeah.
But of course, in order to turn a good novel into a good movie, you need a good movie man, as they were called at the time, and that man was Steven Spielberg. Zanuck and Brown firstly offered the job to Dick Richards. And he could be called Dick Dix, and that's no good. But soon grew irritated by Richard's habit of describing the shark as a whale. and dropped him from the project. Meanwhile, Steven Spielberg very
Sorry,
much wanted
what
the
does
job.
that remind you of? Like that reminds me of something I can't remember. It's like this guy kept on calling something else, and it just pissed people. Is it like from Always Sunny or something? I can't remember.
I was going to say it feels like one of those things from like those kind of absurdist, like sitcoms, but I can't think which one it would be.
Yeah. Oh, is it Arrested Development? I don't know.
I was thinking Arrested Development, but I thought,
Yeah.
I would assume that you would know it if it was Arrested
I
Development.
haven't seen it in ages, and it's everyone keeps getting pissed off by this person calling something
exactly,
else, which it clearly isn't. Like, why would you call the shark a whale? Why? I mean, maybe he's just obsessed with Moby Dick. I don't know.
Yeah. It's kind of like a reverse, like, you know how like in the story of Jonah, it wasn't actually a whale, it was a big fish, but everyone says whale. This is like the opposite to that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Steven Spielberg very much wanted the job. The 26-year-old had just directed his first theatrical film, The Sugarland Express, for Zanuck and Brown. At the end of a meeting in their office, Spielberg noticed their copy of the still unpublished Jaws novel, and, after reading it, was captivated. He later observed that it was similar to his 1971 film Duel, in that both deal with these leviathans targeting everymen. That's interesting. So it still hadn't been published when they decided that they were going to make it into a movie, which, I mean, you know... That woman had a lot of power when she said, "Oh, maybe this could be a movie."
Yeah, well, I guess she got to see it first, but because she edits this magazine. But yeah, so that's the key. Like, just normal people trying to deal with this insane creature. There's a natural hook there. As long as you can make sure the everyman characters are, actual 3D characters. Which the movie did well, which we'll get to. Yeah, it can be an interesting success. Well, it can be interesting and therefore a success. Yeah.
If this was called Jawses, then you'd have more than one shark, and it would be terrible because it wouldn't be as simple. Zanuck and Brown signed Spielberg to direct in June 1973, but before production began, Spielberg grew reluctant to continue with Jaws in fear of becoming typecast as the truck and shark director. He wanted to move over to Fox's Lucky Lady instead, because he wanted to be the Truck and Lucky Lady director. But Universal vetoed his departure. Brown helped convince Spielberg to stick with the project, saying that after Jaws, you can make all the films you want. I mean, he didn't really get typecast. Well, I guess, he also made Jurassic Park, and that was a, big monster movie, and he made War of the Worlds. You know what? He has made a few monster movies in his time, like big, and those movies also feature everymen.
And of course, E.T. is about monsters in the United States.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, no, it's. I was joking about how E.T. is the monster in the movie.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
To continue that trend, obviously he's not, but that was the joke which you ruined. But yeah, I do think that it is the most significant movie director combination ever. Spielberg and Jaws. It launched his career. It launched this, this modern blockbuster thing. And of course, Spielberg is probably the greatest director of all time, in terms of what he has done.
Yeah, in terms of like popularity and influence.
Yeah, popularity, influence, just general good movies as well. Like that has to be taken into account because he does make good movies.
Yeah, he makes solid movies. That's the thing. He's one of those. In fact, ironically, he makes movies, or perhaps I should say appropriately, he makes everyman movies.
Yeah, he does, and that's why it will be and is considered the greatest director of all time. Even though he's not like my favorite or whatever, and I don't think he's like the best. I think
he's a very definitive director.
Yeah, and this of course was his movie. Well, yeah, this was the movie that kickstarted everything. And yeah, of course, that's why it is so incredibly historically significant. Yeah.
So now, Spielberg, interestingly, wanted some levity in Jaws, humour that would avoid making it a dark sea hunt. So he turned to his friend Carl Gottlieb. Gottlieb eventually became the primary screenwriter, rewriting nearly the entire script during a 9-week period. The script for each scene was typically finished the night before it was shot, after Gottlieb had dinner with Spielberg and members of the cast and crew. Many pieces of dialogue originated from the actors' improvisations during these meals. A few were created on set just prior to filming. Now, are we going to mention the whole "you're going to need a bigger boat" thing? Because now I've been told that was ad-libbed on camera, but is this implying that actually, because it doesn't mention that, so
here's the thing, having watched the movie again, I assume it was ad-libbed, because the thing is, Brody repeats that line afterwards.
I was thinking that too, yeah.
Yeah, so again, if you're writing a script, you wouldn't just do that. You wouldn't like repeat something word for word, exactly.
Yeah, and that is why writing scripts is better than ad-libbing.
Yeah, but that's why I assume it was ad-libbed, because obviously we're going to need a bigger boat is the classic line. It's the it's one of the most famous lines in movie history. And yeah, it does seem like it was ad-libbed, and yeah, given that backstory, they were just coming up with stuff on the fly, the night before. Yeah, it's I can totally believe it was ad-libbed. Yeah,
That's true. I like to imagine that guy, the captain, ad-libbed the entire story about the shark thing, just like at dinner. I was like, "Hey guys, I got this like line I'd like to run by you," and it just like goes on for 10 minutes. And it's just like, what do you think about that? I'm like,
oh, that's the thing. So there's a lot of debate. I didn't get into it here. I cut it from the stuff you had to have to
wow,
read.
you cut stuff.
Yeah, oh yeah, I did. But yeah, basically, there's a lot of debate over who wrote that monologue, with various people claiming credit. But yeah, it wasn't that interesting.
Okay, yeah. So now let's talk about shooting. The shark. No, not really. Shooting the film with cameras. Shot mostly on location at Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. This was before it had all the immigrants sent there. Jaws was the first major motion picture to be shot on the ocean and had a troubled production, going over budget and schedule. As the mechanical sharks often malfunctioned, Spielberg decided to mostly suggest the shark's presence, employing an ominous and minimalist theme created by John Williams. That's another, like, if we're talking about iconic pairings, that's another reason why this, another such example in this movie. To indicate its impending appearances, for much of the shark hunt, its location is indicated by the floating yellow barrels. Spielberg also included multiple shots of just the dorsal fin. This forced restraint is widely thought to have added to the film's suspense. As Spielberg put it years later, the film went from a Japanese Saturday matinee horror flick to more of a Hitchcock. The less you see, the more you get thriller. In another interview, he declared, "The shark not working was a godsend. It made me become more like Alfred Hitchcock than like Ray Harryhausen." Yeah, that is fun. One time I called him Harry Harryhausen. What an idiot.
Yeah, I don't know who Ray Harryhausen was, but yeah, he sounds like a bit of a. Oh, you know who he is.
I know who he is.
Okay,
I'm a big fan of his.
He sounds like a hack, to be honest, given Spielberg's quote.
To be fair, it's actually like a pretty. Harryhausen was basically a really iconic special effects guy from back in the day.
Okay.
The one thing you could say is that because his effects actually worked, he showed them off a lot more. So every single basically any movie from like the 60s that has any sort of like fantastical stuff happening in it, Harryhausen did it. Anyway.
Okay. Well, I just want to say, obviously, this is what we said kind of before at the start.
Yes.
Art through adversity. Limitations can create great art, as we have seen, multiple times throughout movie history. This is a great example. And another thing which we have said, which we repeat, and I certainly, echo this mantra because I truly do believe it. Less is more.
I thought you were going to say less is more.
Because that is this is a great example. You show the shark less, it's more impactful when we actually do see it. So,
yes.
You want to make sure that you don't show it off that much. And I think basically modern filmmaking has totally disregarded this less is more thing. And because that's the thing, people complain sometimes about, oh, you only see, the main character, or maybe not the main character, but the thing the movie is about, you only see it like in 10 minutes of the movie when it's a 2-hour movie. Oh, I think Godzilla was a good example of that. That came out in 2014. It's like, you hardly see Godzilla, but the movie's called Godzilla. That's fine, because less is more. If you just see like the foot of Godzilla, that's scarier than seeing the whole thing, in one big shot, and that is what Spielberg realized doing this movie. And yeah, it's why it's so good. And of course, the music has something to do with that, which we will get to, of course, the music, which is iconic. Another example of this, which I saw mentioned on Wikipedia, but I did think of myself, but I saw on Wikipedia, so I know it's correct, what I'm saying, is Alien, which was, of course, a movie which came out 4 years later. The aliens aren't in the movie that much, but, it's kind of the same thing. But, this massive creature that these everymen have to kill. Less is more, Michael, less is more.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it is such an iconic or like a well-worn statement that nonetheless, a lot of people clearly haven't taken to heart as much as they should. And you would hope in a way that they wouldn't have to be forced to realize this. But clearly they are, because now that they don't realize, or like now there are no limitations, they're terrible and we hate them.
Because modern audiences just want everything. They can't deal with like patience, because that's what this movie requires, patience. That's what good movies often require, patience to get to the good bit, and you're waiting for that moment, and the wait is what makes the payoff so satisfying. But because modern day audiences they're on TikTok and they need that slop, they need that instant gratification. They don't have the patience. Yeah, tick slop, exactly.
And it is a shame because they don't realize. Delayed gratification. I mean, that's the other thing. So it's not just that you don't see the shark very often. Obviously, you don't see it until right at the end. I mean, you get that. I guess like the first proper view of it is the first proper view of it when we get we're going to need a bigger boat, or do we see it before then? I could be forgetting.
No, I think that's when we do see it. Yeah,
and that is like, I mean, that's after they've been on the boat for a while too. So yeah. Anyway, but we should talk about the actual movie.
Yeah, so let's get into.
I mean, kind of already have spoken about it a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah.
In the New England beach town of Amity Island, a young woman goes for a late-night ocean swim. An unforeseen force attacks and pulls her underwater. Her partial remains are found washed up on the beach the next morning. Yeah, it has been pointed out by some people, including ChatGPT when I asked it, that this is nothing like what an actual shark attack looks like. But we don't care, do we, Luke? No one's going to point it out.
No. I know it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. When I was watching it, I was like, oh yeah, this is not what a
she's
shark
literally
attack
being
is.
like dragged, like
Yeah,
she's being shaped.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like at first, she's like, "Oh, what's that?" It's like
That's how you'd react to a shark.
Bites you, then you're not going to go, "Oh, what's that?"
Yeah, maybe the shark was just like nuzzling her. Anyway,
yeah. Well, I do want to say, by the way, of course, I think she's called Carrie something. Maybe I think that's the name of the
Underwood.
No, the name of the actress or the name of the character, or is it Carissa? I don't know. But basically, she is on the poster, of course.
And yet she's in it for like, oh, so that's kind of interesting. Oh, that must have like got everyone when they came to see the film.
Well, maybe, I don't know. Because, it is like a classic horror thing, a young attractive woman being killed by this monster. So, and of course, we haven't talked about the poster. And to be honest, when I was going through the Wikipedia page on Jaws, getting all that information, not using ChatGPT, I'm just realizing this now, I did not see anything about the poster. For the movie, but of course that is iconic. It's such a great poster. Like, it's maybe the best in movie history, honestly.
Does the shark look a bit goofy?
What in the poster?
Well, it's kind of like looking at like, duh.
I mean, I don't really think so, because that's just how sharks look, to be honest. So
yeah, sharks. Honestly, the thing about sharks is, like the thing that people can do where you could just like turn a shark upside down. Isn't that like just embarrassing for them?
Yeah, no, that is so embarrassing for them. Yeah, but so yeah, I just want to say, before I saw the movie, actually, I saw the poster, of course. Like, maybe that's normal, but I always remember the poster, and I remember thinking, wow, that's a great poster. And this was like when I was 10 years old when I first saw it. I was like, yeah, damn, that's a great poster, because obviously it communicates everything, like how big the shark is. He's coming for these innocent people, and yeah, it's so simple and so great, kind of like the movie.
Yeah, exactly. It gives you exactly what you're paying for, what you're setting up. But I mean, the other thing that you don't get from the poster, I would say very much enhances the movie, perhaps you disagree, is the music.
Yes. Well, again, there's so many elements of this movie which just make it so iconic. Like every single bit, like the music, the director, the actors. But yeah, talk about the music.
Yeah, so John Williams composed the film score, which earned him an Academy Award. The main shark theme, a simple alternating pattern of two notes, became a classic piece of suspense music, synonymous with approaching danger. Williams described the theme as grinding away at you, just as a shark would, instinctual, relentless, unstoppable. When Williams first showed his idea to Spielberg, playing just the two notes on a piano, Spielberg was said to have laughed, thinking it was a joke. The relationship between sound and silence is also taken advantage of in the way that the audience is conditioned to associate the shark with its theme, which is exploited towards the film's climax, when the shark suddenly appears with no musical introduction. Spielberg later said that without Williams' score, the film would have been only half as successful, and according to Williams, it jump-started his career. Yeah, so I mean, like that's the big thing. That idea of like dun 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 dun. That's like that is an iconic thing. Like if you want to say, oh, something suspenseful and scary's coming, something's coming to get you, I don't think there's any other piece of music you could point to other than dun 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 dun. Yeah, that.
Yeah. It's like a, the key thing is obviously it starts slow, then it gets faster.
Yeah. And then there's, of course, the classic It Got You, which is da-da, da-da, da-da.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so good. And I think Spielberg honestly may be kind of correct. It's weird to say a piece of music might have made the film twice as successful, but considering how iconic it is, and considering how well, of course, it works with the movie, and again, it's used at the end because the shark suddenly appears with no musical introduction, which is a great move. Again,
it just subverts your expectations.
Does
this movie start that?
Yes. Well, that's the thing. That is why this movie is it's so good. Like you can't imagine it without the music. It is maybe the most important part, which is kind of crazy to say, but there's only a few movies that you can say that about, and this may be one of the movies you can say it about. And of course, John Williams jump-started his career. He became a legend after this.
I would say that there's actually very few, like, even movies where the score is really iconic, like Star Wars would be an obvious example. Maybe, I don't know, like Harry, like most good blockbusters have an iconic score, but you can like imagine the movie being as successful, partially because they usually aren't as simple. Whereas, of course, this movie being so simple, it means every single element. It's like, our best friend Marco Pierre White said, perfection is lots of little things done well.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about how simple and great the poster was. Same for the music. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he literally thought it was a joke, idiot. After the coroner concludes it was a shark attack, Police Chief Brody closes the beaches. Vaughn persuades him to reconsider, fearing the town's summer economy will suffer. The coroner now concurs with the mayor's theory that it was a boating accident. Critics have described similarities to An Enemy of the People. Gottlieb? How was I even pronouncing his name the first time? Himself.
It's pronounced Gottlieb.
Gottlieb. Himself said he and Spielberg...
It's Jewish, by the way.
Oh, really? That's okay. Interesting. So, yeah. Is John Williams Jewish? I don't know. Anyway, who cares? No. So Spielberg referred to Jaws as Moby Dick meets Enemy of the People. Now, Luke, can I be honest with you? I don't know what Enemy of the People is.
Ah, you Philistine. So here's the thing. I know what Enemy of the People is because I have seen Enemy of the People. I, in fact, have seen it be performed in London.
Oh, is it a play?
Yeah, it's a play.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't realize you were gay.
There's this town. I think originally it's in Norway. There's this town that has these special baths that people come to, but the water is actually poisoning everyone or something. I can't remember. And basically they have to close the baths, but that will destroy the town's revenue. The town has got rich off these baths, but obviously if you have to close the baths, then that's a big issue. And the main character, I think he's called Thomas, is a journalist, and his brother is the mayor of the town. And yeah, basically there are some. No, he's not a journalist. He's not a journalist. One of his roommates is a journalist. That's it. And yeah, he is like a scientist. I think that's the thing. And like
And they come together to destroy the town's economy.
Yes, that's what happens. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
What heroes.
So there you go. And of course, the same thing here with Jaws. It's like, oh well, we need this resource. Well, we need the beaches open. Otherwise, the town is going to suffer. And so we don't really care about. We'll minimize the shark. Well, who cares about the shark really? We need the beaches open. Yes. It's very much similar to An Enemy of the People.
Yeah, that's interesting. And to be honest, like and as you described it, I was like, this doesn't even feel like a movie I would know, but I'm glad that maybe people do know it. I mean, I didn't even know Norwegians did plays.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So it's only similar for the first half. For the second half, it's about hunting the shark, which again is why the Moby Dick comparison is there.
Yes, that makes sense, of course, yeah. So Brody...
by the way, sorry, just one last thing. Do you remember when Boris Johnson said the mayor from Jaws was right?
No, I don't. So was this in the context of coronavirus?
Possibly. I can't...
Because that would make sense, because obviously he was about trying to keep the economy open more so than other people were.
Yeah, I don't think maybe it was brought up during COVID. I think he may have said it before.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he's at least been consistent.
Yeah, but his big point was, the mayor was right. He should have kept the beaches open, which is just like the whole, I guess, conservative ideology just laid bare right there.
You got to think about it, Luke. If the shark ate, say, 500,000 people, then it would probably get tired of eating people, and therefore everyone else would have herd immunity. Yeah,
good point. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Brody reluctantly accepts their conclusion until young Alex Kintner is killed at a crowded beach. Roy Scheider, who played Brody, became interested in the project after overhearing Spielberg at a party talk with a screenwriter about having the shark jump up onto a boat. It's like so funny. It's like, this looks like something I want to get into.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's so many crazy stories with this movie, and again, the casting is he Scheider hears someone. Spielberg, of course, talking at a party about a shark jumping onto a boat. And he's like, wait, what? If he just wasn't listening to the conversation right then, he never would have been cast. Yeah.
And you say, hey, you jumped the shark.
That's good. Yeah. Well, even that was, I think Happy Days.
Yeah.
You know that's from Happy Days, right?
Yeah, I do know that's from Happy Days.
I think Happy Days came out after, or the Jump the Shark episode came out after this.
Yeah, because I guess it was at the end, hence the fact they jumped the shark. By the way, I mean, so this is the scene that has the iconic dolly zoom, which is famous.
Yes, which is now a great gif. But it's such a great scene because I love the fact that Brody is constantly, scared of what's going on in the water.
Pathetic.
constantly looking around. I think that's just great. It's just a great element. Like, again, I just think modern movies just would not have that thing in. You know, they wouldn't take the care to consider what he's feeling in that moment. So that's great.
Yeah. Have you seen the movie Piranha 3 Double D?
No.
Okay, that's very similar. David Hasselhoff is a lifeguard, and there's a kid who like keeps crying wolf and like getting him to jump in the water when he's trying to chat with like hot babes with big boobs. Anyway, it's a good movie. So, a $3,000 bounty is placed on the shark, causing an amateur shark hunting frenzy. Quint, an eccentric local shark hunter, offers his services for $10,000. And he does a little Dr. Evil thing, because of course back in the day that was like worth $1 million.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna forget Quint for now. Of course, that has become kind of iconic. You know him,
Scraping the chalkboard is parodied in Simpsons.
Yes, and it's parodied in other places, I believe. Yes, so that is iconic again. But this movie is really anti-small town America because it portrays the town of Amity. Is it Amity? I think Amity. As all bumbling idiots. They don't care for expertise. It's like cultish as well. They all think the same thing.
Yeah. Amity's had enough of experts.
Yeah, they're all morons. All the politicians are like stupid and like sleazy, which maybe you could say is the same for big towns, or big cities. But yeah, and yeah, like that's something which isn't really discussed in the movie. How Spielberg portrays small town America as just a bunch of fucking morons who are all gonna get killed by the shark until this guy, two guys from out of town, who of course aren't islanders. What's he called? Hooper. I can't believe I forgot that. And of course Brody, the police chief, who's from New York originally, come in and just have to save the day and stop these bumbling fucking hicks from killing themselves. So yeah, that's just something I like because it's true.
Anyway, I do have something to say about these stupid people, and it's kind of a criticism, but it's maybe not so much considering what the movie's trying to be. It was interesting that they kind of like seem to play around with the idea of Hooper being guilty. Am I right about Hooper? No, I'm fucking the wrong person, aren't I? Fucking Brody, that's it. Anyway, Brody, like that when that woman's like, I heard that there was someone else on the beach. She's Southern now. There was someone else who got killed a few days ago, and you left the beach open. And she kind of like says it, and it's like this really like this moment, this emotional moment. But I was kind of like, well, that's stupid because obviously from a film, like as a film viewer, we know that he was very reluctant to do that.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously he just feels guilty, because he actually has a conscience. So so I'm fine with that.
I guess that's okay that he has a conscience. Anyway, oceanographer Matt Hooper examines the girl's remains, confirming she was killed by an unusually large shark.
Yeah, I like how he is disgusted by the girl's remains. Again, that's a great little detail. Again, maybe this is added in from the book, which is why, adapting movies off of books is always, I think, more... Well, you get better movies as a result of that.
Yeah. I always assume, like, anyone who had any job where they... And maybe it's, like, not a regular part of his job to look at this stuff, but, which I guess, because obviously... I'd imagine maybe he's seen it before, because if he's really into sharks and stuff, and they called him in, and he, like, knows about shark attacks, he's probably seen... But, I would assume usually they are psychopaths.
Yeah, but no, well, he's into sharks, not like... He doesn't look at dead bodies, but this moment should be more dramatic. Like, he should be looking at the bite mark and being like, wow, the bite mark it's so big, he can't believe it, because again, this is apparently a 25.
They should have done the dolly zoom for every, just like from that moment on, everything's the dolly zoom.
Well, yeah, because it's a dramatic moment, well, it should be, and that's where I think Spielberg, a prime Spielberg would have done better in a couple of these scenes, the next one as well. But let's talk about the actor who played Hopper, of course, which is Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah, so
sorry, Hooper.
Hooper, idiot, stupid, always screwing up, Luke. George Lucas suggested Richard Dreyfuss, who played Hooper, to Spielberg, whom he had directed in American Graffiti. The actor initially passed, but changed his decision after he attended a screening of The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz, which he had just completed. Disappointed in his performance, and fearing that no one would want to hire him again, he immediately called Spielberg and accepted the role in Jaws. Dreyfuss later said of the film, "We started the film without a script, without a cast, and without a shark." Yeah, so I was going to say, it's interesting how much of this stuff, like the fact that Spielberg's already talking about the story, and yet, like, actors are over here, like, the main actor gets the role because he
Yeah.
overhears Spielberg talking about like their plans already. It's just really funny to me. He saw a movie where he was so bad, and he was like, "Oh God, I'm terrible."
Yeah.
He was like, "I
No.
should just do another movie before anyone realizes how shit I am."
It's very funny. It's very funny. But honestly, that's a smart move. You know? That's a smart move. So yeah, and honestly, he's very good in this movie. Spielberg said he was kind of similar to Hooper. Like he was Spielberg's stand-in character. You know, kind of a nerd, like college educated. And yeah, quite wealthy, even though Spielberg wasn't that wealthy, but you know, he became wealthy, of course. So yeah, and shout out George Lucas for suggesting him.
He always does the best casting.
Like I've always said, man, George Lucas knows how to cast.
Yep, Natalie Portman. She's hot. Okay. Spielberg wanted to avoid hiring any big stars. He felt that somewhat anonymous performers would help the audience believe this was happening to people like you and me, whereas stars, these are quotes by the way, stars bring a lot of memories along with them, and those memories can sometimes corrupt the story. The director added that in his plans, the superstar was gonna be the shark. Yeah, I mean, I would say that obviously, you know, like good actors, you shouldn't have to be worrying about that. Like, oh, I recognize the actor, therefore it takes me out of the movie. But yeah, I would say, especially since this was like his first movie, he was just getting started. I would certainly respect giving some smaller, less famous actors a fair shout.
Okay, but some actors can't really play the everyman. So I'm thinking like Brad Pitt. He can't really play like an everyman kind of guy because he.
What about World War Z?
Is Brad Pitt. World War Z is not that good a movie, unfortunately. So I don't think it really backs up your point.
What about World War Double D?
Another thing that we've lost, and another reason why this movie is so good, and it's a reminder of simpler times and better times, is actors who kind of look like everyday people who can act really well. Nowadays, I don't think that's the case anymore, to be honest. Again, there's another thing that we've lost. Like, if you are an actor nowadays, you have to look a certain way. Again, the most famous actor right now, or maybe not the most famous, but the one who's on the rise, Timothée Chalamet, he does not look like a normal person. Like he's because you know his face is very quite, it's like sharp.
Yeah.
You know, like no one looks like Timothée Chalamet. If you do, you're a model basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the difference. Like none of these guys are models. And then it's not like they're bad looking, honestly. You know, it's not like I'm looking at them and thinking, wow, you're fucking ugly. Great job, Spielberg. Well done.
Yeah.
But
got to pick some real dogs.
Yeah, but they're not Chalamet or like Brad Pitt, are they? And that's the difference. And that's what we've lost, you know?
No, yeah. And for the worse, I would say. We need some more uggos on screen. And, you know, it's always really awkward because then they just have to have these actors, everyone pretends that they're ugly. Like in those movies about the girls where they have to, like when Amy Schumer starred in that movie I Feel Pretty, we just had to pretend she was ugly when really she looks like a bombshell. When local fishermen catch a tiger shark, Vaughn declares the beach is safe. Hooper then dissects the shark and, finding no human remains inside it, concludes the killer shark is still alive. Yeah. Dun dun. Dolly zoom.
I like this plot point. I like the fact that they kind of catch it because it does make Jaws seem, even subconsciously, maybe consciously, even scarier because we're dealing with an even bigger threat. Or this you know, quite sizable shark that we've caught. Nope, that's not it. Something even bigger. And again, I think this is another opportunity for Spielberg to do something more dramatic when Hooper is discussing the bite size. You know, when he's talking to Brody and he's like, you know, the bite size, it's a lot bigger. You know, judging by you know the bite on the girl, it's a lot bigger. And then they could actually you know have some tension. Well, how bigger? And then Hooper could go, you know, well, twice as big. You know, to really up the tension, up the drama. I
mean, that's the thing because this movie, like, ultimately, it's good, but it is kind of like old. So it's kind of like it's from back before I think like the ability to, even though in some sense they lost the less is more thing. I think the ability to really build drama, like for example, I mean the obvious comparison in some sense would be to Jurassic Park, which is a fantastic movie.
Yeah, well I mentioned Prime Spielberg before. That is Prime Spielberg. Again, This is Spielberg before his prime. Again, if you put Prime Spielberg, you know, back 20 years ago, he would have made a better movie. It's already quite good, again, movies got better over the years in terms of like drama and really maximizing these kind of moments. And yeah, you could still see it, by the way, in this movie. There's some really nice shots, really good moments, and that's like, that's the Spielberg magic right there. But it wasn't throughout the whole movie. Unlike maybe Jurassic Park, where it's just really, really solid, you know, or not just solid, amazing throughout basically the whole runtime. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So one of his changes was to remove the novel. This is, of course, speaking of Spielberg. One of his changes was to remove the novel's adulterous affair between Ellen Brody and Matt Hooper at the suggestion of Spielberg, who feared it would compromise the camaraderie between the men on the Orca. Yeah, I feel like I would agree with that. It also, I mean, obviously with novels, you can kind of, typically novels have more stuff in them than movies, and I feel like there wouldn't have been really any time to explore that. And because you'd have to, because they don't know each other, right? So you'd have to build it up. And it would definitely, I mean, the best thing you could say is it make them on the boat more morally complex. But yeah, I think it's better. They're just like, I also feel like it feels like just more artificial melodrama.
Yeah, it's just unnecessary. I think when Brody sees Hooper survived at the end, he wouldn't be smiling.
Yeah,
he'd be, oh fuck, this guy still made it. Fuck. But yeah, so let's move
back
on
to the cuck shed.
Yeah, the scariest scene in the movie.
While searching the night waters, Hooper and Brody find the damaged boat of a fisherman. Hooper goes underwater to check the boat's hull and finds a large shark tooth. He drops the shark tooth. Sorry, I said tooth. Well, that was really unnecessary. I realized I made a mistake, and it wasn't even a big mistake. He drops the tooth after encountering a severed head. Spielberg also decided that he was greedy for one more scream and reshot the scene in which Hooper discovers Ben Gardner's body using $3,000 of his own money after Universal refused to pay for the reshoot. Yes, so as you say, scariest scene in the movie, really gets you with that jump scare.
Yeah.
Made me run out the room screaming.
Yeah, because it's a great moment. Of course, no music, nothing to do with the shark. Well, of course, the shark caused the severed head to be there. But yeah, it's really good. I was like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's really well done from Spielberg. Like he's a very good horror director as well, which we kind of didn't talk about honestly the genre with this movie, but it's because I didn't mention it right at the start. I don't think, but it's a thriller, of course. It's a thriller. It's kind of an action movie. It's a monster movie, and it's also a horror movie, which is kind of similar to a monster movie, honestly. But yeah, these things make it. These scenes make it like a horror movie. Yeah. Yeah,
and I remember when I heard someone describe this movie as scary, weirdly enough, the first time, when I was a kid, for some reason it didn't make sense to me this movie would be scary. And then when I was like, oh no, there's a bit where he discovers a dead body, I was like, okay, that sounds actually more scary. But it was kind of interesting that the thing where I was like, oh yeah, that sounds scary was, not actually the shark showing up. It was this dead body. Vaughn dismisses Brody and Hooper's assertions that a great white shark caused the deaths and refuses to close the beaches. On the 4th of July weekend, tourists pack the beaches. The shark enters a nearby lagoon, killing a boater and nearly killing Brody's son, Michael, who is hospitalized with shock. Brody then convinces a guilt-ridden Vaughn to hire Quint. So yeah, this is the last big attack. And I was going to say, it kind of seemed unnecessary to me that you had another person die. I mean, I don't want to say it's completely unnecessary because obviously he's so guilty, but I was kind of one of those things where I do feel like another aspect of less is more is sometimes it's kind of nice when you can have an exciting scene without needing to show someone die. And again, I think that's something that Spielberg did get better at in the Jurassic Park movies, because in those you do have a lot of scenes where it's really exciting, even though no one gets. Obviously, there are plenty of exciting scenes where people do get killed. There are other exciting scenes where no one gets killed.
But just to go back to this beach scene again, it's quite good. But again, at this point, I was like, okay, we're getting
this is it.
A bit repetitive here, because you have a shark attack. The mayor says it's all good, etc. Finally, this is the end of that path. But it's this is when boomers talk about back in the day,
drank out lead pipes,
all this health and safety nonsense, it's all this PC nonsense, all this woke nonsense. Back in the day, we let our kids play in shark infested waters. It's just an insane thing that's happening. Maybe after the first shark attack, it's like, okay, maybe it's a one-off incident, but after there's been another shark attack, a kid's been fucking killed. Just, I don't know, man. If I was, because everybody apparently on the beach is aware of it, and they still
that's the thing I was thinking,
they still go and play in the water. It's just people in the 70s were fucking insane. All the boomers, all the all the people that old, they're all idiots. They should never be trusted with anything.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking that that's insane. Me personally, I'm scared of sharks going out in the water, even when there's no record of there having been any sharks. I'm just scared of it ordinarily. So it's crazy to me that, people are like, oh yeah, let's go. But yeah, maybe people were suicidal back then. Despite initial tension between Quint and Hooper and Brody's fear of the ocean, the three head out to sea on Quint's boat, Orca, to hunt the shark. 9 days before the start of production, neither Quint nor Hooper had been cast. Zanuck and Brown had just finished working with Robert Shaw on The Sting and suggested him to Spielberg. Shaw was reluctant to take the role since he did not like the book, but decided to accept at the urging of both his wife and his secretary. Okay, the two most important women in his life. Yeah, you know what's interesting, of course, is orcas, I believe, are one of the only animals that hunt great white sharks.
Yeah, no, and actually that, of course, is quite important. As we will see later. It's interesting that you mentioned that. But yeah, I think that we're on the other part of the movie now, the hunt, and you have this interesting culture clash between Hooper and Quint, and yeah, I think Quint is. He's probably the most unrealistic character in the movie because he's like this stereotypical old shanty seaman, and seems a bit too far. But maybe fishermen aren't like that, or eccentric fishermen can be as weird as that. And of course, maybe he was scarred by what happened to him in World War II. So maybe it's normal for him to be that weird.
As Brody lays down a chum line, the shark suddenly appears behind the boat. Quint, estimating it is 25 feet long and weighs 3 tons, harpoons it with a line attached to a barrel, but the shark pulls it underwater and disappears. I must admit, again, a slight criticism is that I did find myself thinking, I refuse to believe that if this shark is willing to surface and you're on a boat and you're able to fire harpoons at it, that you wouldn't be able to kill it. Like, surely there's some kind of thing you could have that would actually, like, it kind of goes back to my Aquaman criticism. There was one where I was like, once people are on a boat and they're actively prepared to confront the shark, I feel like it shouldn't be that difficult to kill.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I was thinking when they were harpooning it, don't they have a shotgun? Like, hit it with a fucking, shotgun, a couple of times. Surely that would do the trick from that range. It's not too far, but whatever. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I did love the scene because it was just pure tension. I did think this is a really well executed scene. And again, there was no real music at all. So yeah, and this is the 1970s. It was very difficult to film, and it just shows you how good Spielberg was, and the editor was, because apparently the editor did a really good job. This was saved in the edit, just like Star Wars again. I did read that, but yeah, the shark, I guess, it's just too big, right, for one barrel. So they need like 3 barrels, I guess, is what that's why they keep needing to attach barrels. Yeah,
again, it's just funny to me that they're firing these harpoons. It's almost like they're not even considering the possibility that maybe these big sharp spears will do some damage.
Well, do you know how big the shark was? Well, they said 25 feet, didn't they?
Yes.
And sharks, I searched this because I was interested. I think the biggest ever great white shark was like 19.6 feet.
So it's the biggie.
But that was like the biggest shark which was measured. There have apparently been some bites in like Australia which indicate sharks could be that big. But they haven't been seen, of course, by humans and or measured, accurately. But
yeah, well, that is interesting. Yeah, I had an interesting shark fact, but I won't tell you. Oh, actually, I can tell you it now. Actually, so at night, Quint and Hooper exchange stories about their body scars. One of Quint's is a removed tattoo. He reveals that during World War II, he survived the sinking of the USS Indianapolis, in which sharks killed many US sailors. So, as far as I know, this is based on a real story. But
I doubt they made it up. Yeah.
Yes, but here's my interesting fact about sharks. I watched this video on YouTube by a shark guy, and it was like, the most deadly shark is maybe not what you think. It was actually a very lucid, informative video, but I made it sound like it was a cringy reality TV show thing. Anyway, but the interesting fact is that someone was saying that the shark that's probably killed the most human beings is actually a shark that most people have never heard of, because it's called the white tip ocean liner shark, and the key word there is ocean. See, most sharks hang out by the coast, and that means that obviously the people who get eaten by the coast, that people are like aware of, are the ones that we know who get eaten. But this guy was saying that this white tip ocean liner shark is one of the only sharks that hangs out in the open ocean a lot. So, and it's also an appropriate size to be eating human beings. So basically it was saying that probably every single time that there's been a shipwreck, like since for as long as there have been shipwrecks, these sharks were the ones taking out the majority of people. And therefore, even though we have very few records of them actually eating people, because all those people just die out in the middle of the sea, they probably killed more human beings than any other shark combined, was this guy's contention. I thought that's an interesting fact.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting fact. Just back to the monologue. Obviously,
yes.
It's really good because this movie doesn't have any other monologues in it, and cause
less is more.
It's this exactly, and it's a thriller in a simple town, and you don't expect it. It comes out of nowhere, And therefore, because you don't
Yeah,
expect...
and also like they're joking, laughing before he's like, hey,
Yeah.
what did that tattoo say, Mum? You fat.
Exactly. It's a perfect setup, and you don't expect it. So it hits hard and it's very well done. Let's talk about Quint's maybe comparable character in a novel. Yeah.
Yes. Moby Dick is the most notable artistic antecedent to Jaws. The character of Quint strongly resembles Captain Ahab, the obsessed captain who devotes his life to hunting a sperm whale. Quint's monologue reveals a similar obsession with sharks. Even his boat, the Orca, is named after the only natural enemy of the white shark. I didn't know that. I didn't know that because I said I knew that. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely... To be honest, I've never read Moby Dick, and I don't know much about it. I feel like it's such an iconic story that I probably should know something about it.
Well, yeah, I think it's mainly about the obsession that this guy has with the whale and how it destroys him. But yeah, it's really good. But no, I have not read it either.
Yes.
I should see the Moby Dick movie. I think there was a movie on Moby Dick which came out like in the 90s. Probably wasn't that good though. Certainly not as good as Jaws. And
But this is the true Moby Dick movie.
Yes, and of course the shark is a lot scarier, as we will see now.
Yes. The shark returns, ramming the boat's hull and disabling the power. The men work through the night, repairing the engine. Brody attempts to call the Coast Guard, but Quint, obsessed with killing the shark without outside assistance, smashes the radio. Yeah, this is kind of like that's quite a significant development to show that this character is literally like, and it's kind of funny how like Brody just is like kind of willing to accept it. I guess like when you're working with a guy, it seems kind of crazy. It's like, yeah, okay, I guess. So yeah, which is I guess he just wants to sort of die out here with him, and that's how he does it. That's classic. That's a classic Quint moment right there.
Yeah. Again, this was like because I had not been thinking of Moby Dick up until this moment, and that was the moment where I was like, oh, he doesn't want anyone to help anyone to help him because he wants to kill it himself.
Yes.
Which is like, oh, so he's like kind of obsessed. And then that's when the Moby Dick comparisons came into my head. But yeah, obviously it's a very interesting thing that the shark is doing because the shark is kind of destroying the boat, and you do get a great jump scare again with the shark. I really did like that one, but yeah, again, the shark appears to be incredibly smart or just hell-bent on revenge. Maybe a combination of both.
Yes, I would say, which is I mean, some people could say that's sort of dumb because I know like people complain about Jurassic Park 3 and how there's a dinosaur in that that seems unrealistically bent on revenge. This shark, I mean, this kind of, I guess this movie destroyed that thing that people do say about like, sharks are, well, people don't really say sharks are more scared of you, but people like to say sharks really aren't too much of a threat to humans. They tend to like avoid us and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this movie really did a number on that idea. So, do you want to hear about some issues filming, Luke?
Yes.
Initially, the film's producers wanted to train a great white shark, but quickly realized this was not possible. So 3 full-sized, pneumatically powered prop sharks were made.
Sorry, I thought you liked the fact about training the great white shark.
Yes, you know what? Yes, so I did. When I read that, I was like, I can't believe that was the original plan to train a great white shark.
The thing is, I've got you to read a lot of stuff, but I've noticed you've kind of laughed and scoffed at a few things you can't really quite believe.
I know, yes.
Yeah, and that was one of them, yes.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, because that is crazy to me. Which the film crew nicknamed Bruce, after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce Raman. That's, of course, interesting because of, what's it called? Finding Nemo. There's a shark in that too, called Bruce. The prop sharks frequently broke owing to a series of problems, including bad weather, pneumatic hoses taking on salt water, frames fracturing, corroding skin, and electrolysis. Yeah, I feel like a lot of this would have to do with, being in the ocean probably causes some issues with animatronics. I am aware, by the way, because I was interested. There's one scene in this movie that does have an actual shark in it, and I'll just tell you what that is. It's the thing in the cage, because I just happen to be interested in that.
Oh, thank you for telling me that. It's not like I included a massive paragraph about that later. So
okay,
I appreciate that.
Maybe I should stop anticipating things. Did you know that an orca is the only... Anyway. Yes, so, I mean, obviously we kind of touched on the less is more thing. And this is specifically why they had less. This is the reason why it was so good, because sharks don't work underwater.
Yes, I agree, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Really learned something. Brown said that the budget was $4 million and the picture wound up costing $9 million. The effects outlays alone grew to $3 million due to the problems with the mechanical sharks. Disgruntled crew members gave the film the nickname Flaws. Oh, that's interesting, because you would think they would have accents where they... Oh, no, ignore me. Ignore me. Spielberg attributed many problems to his perfectionism and his inexperience, which is a bad combination. The former was epitomized by his insistence on shooting at sea with a life-size shark. I could have shot the movie in the tank, or even in a protected lake somewhere, but it would not have looked the same, he said. As for his lack of experience, I was naive about the ocean, basically. I was pretty naive about Mother Nature, and the hubris of a filmmaker who thinks he can conquer the elements was foolhardy. But I was too young to know I was being foolhardy when I demanded that we shoot the film in the Atlantic Ocean and not in a North Hollywood tank. I feel like probably they could have, for the wide shots, done it in the ocean, and then there were probably a few shots where it could have been in a tank, and they might as well have done that because it wouldn't have made a difference. The movie would have looked exactly the same. Cameron shot Titanic in a tank.
Yeah, but you don't really know that. Again, like Cameron had better effects on hand, so
and you don't really know how it will look until it's like, because this was back in the day. They didn't. I don't know if you know this. They didn't have a digital filmmaking back then.
And the thing is, the movie was very good and it grossed a lot. So clearly, his approach, I don't think, was that bad. Honestly, maybe it would have looked worse. And
but it cost money, Luke.
Certainly, how realistic it looked was part of its appeal.
Yeah, and maybe it's why it made so much money. So it turns out you got to spend money to make money. After a long chase, Quint harpoons the shark with another barrel. The shark drags the boat backward, swamping the deck and flooding the engine. As Quint is about to sever the line to save the boat's transom, I don't even know what that is. The cleats break off. The barrel stays attached to the shark, but the damaged engine fails. So yeah, this is when... I think this is like... I like this moment in terms of making it more exciting, because obviously, the problem is they are on a boat. This does give them... Because as we know, the big problem with man versus nature is men invented technology, and women, but men invented technology, which gives us an advantage over nature. And usually, if you had humans versus animals, you put your money on the humans. But because we have technology, we're pretty stupid at actually, making it about our tech. And that's when we get got. So I think it was a good thing. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but yeah, it obviously gets more exciting where it's like, oh no, our boat is really damaged. We're not going to be able to escape. Blah, blah, blah. That's good. Important moment. Well done.
Yeah, I like that as well. Again, I think it's interesting Spielberg talking about the hubris of man against nature. It's not that this movie doesn't really have that theme, but it's almost kind of similar in this regard. But yeah, I just love the men with their technology battling against this force of human nature, and it's done really well. And it's a really nice matchup there, which I do enjoy. Yeah,
man versus shark, the classic that we all have wanted to see since the gladiatorial arenas. As the boat takes on water, the trio attempt a riskier approach. Hooper suits up and enters a shark-proof cage, intending to lethally inject the shark with strychnine. The shark attacks the cage, causing Hooper to drop the spear. He drops everything. Hooper, like, it's funny the guy made the comment about like his hands, his gay hands, and clearly, something's wrong with his hands because the 2 times he's underwater, he drops important things. While the shark destroys the cage, Hooper escapes to the ocean bottom. Footage of real sharks was shot off Dangerous Reef in South Australia, with a short actor in a miniature shark cage to create the illusion that the sharks were enormous. During the Taylor's shoot, a great white attacked the boat and cage. The footage of the cage attack was so stunning that Spielberg was eager to incorporate it into the film. No one had been in the cage at the time, and the script, following the novel, originally had the shark killing Hooper in it. The storyline was consequently altered to have Hooper escape from the cage, which allowed the footage to be used. As executive Bill Gilmore put it, the shark down in Australia rewrote the script and saved Dreyfuss's character. That is really interesting for 2 reasons. Well, one, it's just interesting in general, so really it's just... But the thing about it is I literally just bitched about the fact that they included an unnecessary death, in my view. Like, the fact that every single action scene in the first half of the movie had to include a death, in my view, felt kind of like pedestrian, like almost like painting by numbers. Oh, we got an action scene, so we have to have a character die. And I thought, oh, that's really cool that this guy, Hooper, he seems like he could be expendable. He seems like the kind of guy who could just be like, oh, let's just have him get killed to raise the stakes or whatever. And I actually respected the fact the movie kind of didn't do that obvious decision and was like, yeah, let's actually have the main character survive, but then let's also have this kind of not quite as relevant character survive too. So the fact that, that shark, in my opinion, deserves a, should have been nominated for a screenplay Oscar or whatever, because, that's actually a thing I really liked about the movie.
Yeah, I like it as well. I think it's quite good, and you get some great footage, and it's still it is realistic, of course. Yeah. It's great. So
and like that, that reason why they used it, because they had the shark attacking. That's like actually really interesting.
Yeah, I just love that. Again, adapting the film based on new things that you have.
Borat moment.
Yeah, new things that you have. Yeah, and making it better. Yeah, that's a great approach. I love it. So yeah, and I think it's good that he survives because it makes the death of Quint more unexpected. Because you're like, oh, they're all going to survive. Nope, they're not.
and I mean, I guess Quint's poetic death. So the shark leaps onto the boat's stern, devouring Quint. Trapped on the sinking vessel, Brody thrusts a scuba tank into the shark's mouth and, climbing onto the crow's nest, shoots the tank with a rifle. The explosion kills the shark. One specific alteration Spielberg called for in the story was to change the cause of the shark's death from extensive wounds to a scuba tank explosion, as he felt audience would respond better to a big, rousing ending. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, obviously, maybe you could say something like more poetic about the shark just slowly succumbing to its wounds, but yeah, of course, the big explosion.
Well, I mean,
is fun.
it's also the technology killing him. Like man versus nature. It's like man using this like the fucking scuba tank.
Yeah.
Which of course is kind of a modern invention. Compared to the history of maritime, whatever.
Yeah, didn't have scuba tanks back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I know I like it, and I think it's more dramatic, of course. And Spielberg was right. See, he has a great eye for the drama. He knows what audiences want.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's great that like the ship is literally just sinking. He's right on the top of the ship, and he's kind of falling down. And yeah. So because you have that moment of like, oh, he needs to get it quick, get it.
Yeah, exactly. And Quint's death scene again, like I said, it's impactful because you think they're going to survive, they don't, and I think it's just good anyway. It's quite fun how he just slides into the shark, and yeah, because Quint's already been killed, it ratchets up the tension, at the end as well with Brody, because you're like, oh,
yes.
The shark can kill these people, and he might kill Brody, even though you kind of know he'll survive because he's the main character, and but whatever, it's still quite good, and yeah, the only quibble I have is the shark again just seems hellbent on revenge. He's like, he just wants to kill them all, he just doesn't go away,
which again isn't very realistic.
Yeah, it's just not realistic at all, and this movie kind of tries to be realistic apart from that. That's the one element which is just like, that doesn't really work that much. I don't know what reason could be that the shark keeps coming back, but just a slight nitpick there.
Although filming was scheduled to take 55 days, it took 159. Spielberg, reflecting on the shoot, stated, "I thought my career as a filmmaker was over. I heard rumors that I would never work again because no one had ever taken a film 100 days over schedule. Spielberg himself was not present for the shooting of the final scene in which the shark explodes, as he believed that the crew were planning to throw him in the water when the scene was done. It has since become a tradition for Spielberg to be absent when the final scene of one of his films is being shot." I like how he avoided it becoming a tradition for him to be thrown into water. I mean, honestly, that seems like it would have been like actually kind of a fun, like in my head, I can't imagine it being an angry thing. Sure, that would have been like they wouldn't have drowned him. But yeah, so he seems like a coward actually. That seems like it would have been beautiful.
But he's this short Jewish guy, and all these like crewmen are like macho, people who have to deal with all this physical equipment. It would have been it would have been pleasant, I think.
It would have been like Will and the In-Betweeners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it wouldn't have been like, oh, people on the same like level. It's just a bit of banter. It would have been
just a bit of banter.
It would have been emasculating for Spielberg. So yes. Yeah. No, but I think again it's just kind of amazing. Like just going through the Wikipedia of summary of this movie, and it's like, oh yeah, Spielberg thought this was going to be a failure. He thought he'd never work again, and this was the biggest success of his career, and it's one of the most iconic movies of his career, and it changed everything. So yeah, it's just like, and then genuinely given all the troubles that he had, it's not like he's exaggerating. The schedule was 100 days over schedule. That's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, he had every right to think he wouldn't work again, and it became, he became the biggest director in Hollywood after this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real. It's honestly a beautiful story.
When the behind the scenes are as dramatic as what's happening, in the movie. Well, not really as dramatic, but very dramatic at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and just like Spielberg's career, once the box office numbers came in, Hooper resurfaces, and he and Brody paddle back to shore, clinging to the remaining barrels. I will say, I do sort of enjoy the fact that this film doesn't have too much going on like after the climax. And when I say too much, I mean literally it's like a minute after the climax. I think sometimes it could be nice for the film to have a little bit of a debrief, and maybe the film could have gone for that. I will say, like, the one thing about the film, just as we're kind of getting towards the end, is that I kind of expected, because of limitations, it would have a few more, like, interpersonal moments, and it didn't actually have as many as I was expecting, and that's maybe evidenced by the fact that kind of just as soon as the shark's over, it ends. But I guess, Spielberg literally said the shark's supposed to be a main character. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I would have preferred if there was one final scene.
Yes.
I think, a better ending could have been used. They should be welcomed back as they come to the shore. Just maybe a few people in the town. Maybe not Brody's wife, because that would be like too emotional, but just a few people.
Because she had the affair on him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then both of them would look back into the ocean and just be like, "Wow, what the hell happened out there?" And
then freeze frame.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain. No, but it would just be a nice ending. I was expecting that final scene on land, and we didn't get it, which I thought was wasn't as good as the ending could have been. But yeah, obviously there are some academic critics, by the way, who have extensively analysed Jaws, even though it's just like a very, very good B movie. But because it's an incredibly successful movie, academics have to analyse it. So if you just want to go through these two paragraphs,
Okay. Do I have your permission to just ignore it and power through if I make a mistake?
Yeah.
Good, okay. So, and this makes it easier for you editing. Academic critics, well, you pretty much said this. So, Stephen Heath connected the film to the Watergate scandal, seeing Sheriff Brody as a white middle-class male hero who restores order through ordinary courage, while also highlighting Jaws as an immensely profitable industrial product that perpetuates the film industry. Andrew Britton viewed the film as a communal exorcism that aimed to restore ideological confidence post-Watergate, with Brody's actions signifying that individual heroism can still affect social change. However, Peter Biskind countered that the film maintained cynicism about politicians, with the venal mayor as the only human villain, and noted that Jaws diverged from typical New Hollywood narratives by presenting a menace that threatened everyone, regardless of social standing. Further discussion.
Sorry. No, just before you go on to that, obviously,
Yes.
I just love how everything has to be tied to Watergate. I think we mentioned this before when reviewing a movie from the 70s, like it was connected back to Watergate. I can't remember which movie it was, but it's like, oh yeah, it's a movie
It would have
that
been Godfather was before Watergate, wasn't it? Never mind.
maybe The Godfather Part 2. But I can't remember. But yeah, basically, it's a movie that came out in the mid 70s. How does this connect to Watergate? Well, it's about restoring confidence post Watergate, because Brody is an authority figure who does the right thing. Or is the film connected to the Watergate scandal? Because of the mayor, so again, politicians are all shitty. But again, it's just hilarious how pampered boomers were compared to now, when the president of the United States is in a bunch of documents which connect him to a paedophile ring. And
Are you still talking about
and it's just, yeah, man. And nobody cares. Like he's still going to be president. He's not going to get impeached.
Yeah, America was a bad idea that didn't really work out.
His approval rating is going to go down a couple percent because he was connected to the most notorious paedophile in American history.
You're famous. I just let you do it.
So there you go.
To me, like that analysis kind of undermines the fact the film is sort of like evergreen, like obviously not necessarily in terms of the political climate, but in terms of this idea of, I think COVID is, like, if this movie came out now, everyone would be like, oh, COVID, because obviously that's a big thing about money and safety.
I thought you were going to say if this movie came out now, like everyone would be like, well, why is Hooper not black? Why is there not a female Latina? Why is Michelle Rodriguez not in this movie? That's what would happen. And again, it just shows how things have changed. But again,
let me tell you, you couldn't make Blazing Saddles nowadays.
In the 70s, I think America was a lot whiter than it is nowadays as well. That has to be, especially Martha's Vineyard.
Yes,
that's still very white right now. There's literally no person of color with one speck darker skin than white in Martha's Vineyard in the 1970s.
Further discussions among critics delve into themes of class, family, and symbolism. While Britain, can you really say themes of symbolism? Surely, like themes are something that can be symbolic of anything. While Britain suggested Jaws downplayed the novel's class conflicts, Biskind, I don't know if I'm going to say it's probably Biskind, identified class divisions, arguing that authority was restored by Brody, not the working class toughness of Quint. Britain also emphasized the film's focus on the vulnerability of children and the supreme value of family life as central to ideological stability. Frederick Jameson explored the polysemy of the shark, suggesting it represented various anxieties from communism to the unreality of contemporary American life, ultimately serving to transform social and historical anxieties into seemingly natural ones. Jameson interpreted Quint's death as the symbolic fall of an old America, with Brody and Hooper's alliance representing a new partnership between law enforcement and corporate technocracy. Neil Gabler proposes that Jaws showcased three approaches to problem solving: science, by Hooper, spiritualism, Quint, and the common man, Brody, with the film endorsing the latter as the successful method. I'll say two things. One, yes, like you said, this movie is very famous and is a really big movie, and therefore I guess it's not surprising that people look way more into this movie than they would into other movies. I do kind of think, like, some of the stuff you could say about generic action, like you could literally say all this stuff about The Meg, to be honest, like that also has themes of like corporations and stuff. The one thing I will say is I think that final point is like worth a mention. The fact that it is often interesting and I think kind of a nice way to characterize people when you do have different characters representing kind of different
Okay,
points of view, different
okay.
ideologies. I think there's some basis for that.
I think the different characters are there because you can't have the three characters who are the same. So you need like that's the whole.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a spiritual thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, a thematic thing.
Well, I don't know about the novel, but at least for the movie, you're building this, interesting, set of characters who, again, okay, we can't have them all the same. Each one has to be a bit different. And of course, you got the oceanographer, who naturally, of course, is more scientific because he's a fucking oceanographer. Then you got the normal family man, who's basically normal and a family man because
That's a good point, actually.
that's what he is.
Yeah,
And then
nailed
you.
that.
And then you got the fisherman who's a bit weird because that's the stereotype
'cause he's
again.
gay.
Again, I think they go a bit too far with the stereotype, if anything. But yeah, so and you need these mix of characters because you can't all just have the same characters,
Yeah.
So therefore, and who is going to survive at the end? Well, to be honest, Hooper was meant to die, but he survived. So how does that figure into this analysis? Again, I think people are reading too much into it because, of course, Spielberg changed. Hooper died originally. Now he doesn't. So does that fit into the themes at all? And it's no surprise that, the normal white straight family man saves the day because guess what? That was just like every single movie.
Yeah.
And that is still kind of every single movie. Of course, now there is some variety in the 21st century, but yeah, that's just how it was. And yeah, I guess you could have made his backstory a bit darker, but then I guess you need that family element because Hooper doesn't have a family, Quint doesn't. So again, there's the contrast there. To contrast that character between the two other characters. Oh, so he has a family, and he's relatively normal. Like he's not a nerd, he's not a weird fisherman. So and he's the stable normal guy because most people watching it will identify with him because they're not like Hooper or Quint. So again, it's just there's far too much going on in terms of the analysis of this movie. When I looked at the Wikipedia page and I saw all this analysis, I was so shocked because I'm like, what do you mean? It's just like a B movie. All of this stuff about it's like communism, it brought to natural life or whatever. It's like no, I don't think it's like that at all. I really don't. I think again, people are reading too much into it because it was just very successful.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the bottom line. And every thematic explanation of the movie, it can be explained away by just simple things like I've done there.
Yeah, and also to be fair, it's not just that people are reading too much. Presumably, it's also that the Wikipedia article, people have looked more into it because it's such a famous movie.
Yeah,
so,
but I guess so.
Yeah, probably a combination of both.
Anyway, let's conclude. You go first.
Yes. So yeah, this movie, like we kind of said, it's a solid movie. It is a B movie, and we've kind of already said this isn't prime Spielberg. I think there are some reasons not to rave about this film, and there's a limit to I think how many times I could watch it and enjoy it. And I would contrast that with Jurassic Park, where there is no upper limit to how many times I can watch Jurassic Park and some other prime Spielberg movies and enjoy them. I could probably list at least 5 Spielberg movies which I could theoretically just watch an infinite number of times and never get bored of them. And this isn't one of them. Honestly, I think there is a point where okay, it's simple, it's well done, but it's also so basic there's not actually that much to get out of it. I was going to give it a middling 7, and that's mostly because I'm not really accounting for the whole shenanigans with everything going on behind the scenes. That I think does elevate it, and it is really interesting, but for me it's not really part of the movie watching experience. If you want to include that, then yeah, it's definitely better than that, but yeah, for me, middling 7.
Well, I am going to include it, Michael.
Yep.
I am going to include it. That's why for me I'm putting it as an 8.
Yeah.
So there you go, an 8 out of 10 for me because I think 7.5 is a fair rating, but that added context, it makes things more interesting for me.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it was a tough movie to make and they produced something really quite good. I like the fact that again they had to get around these obstacles and they succeeded. I like all that. I like that context. So yeah, 8 out of 10, very solid movie. Again, the best B movie ever probably. Maybe Alien could be better, arguably, if that is as a B movie. Kind of is as well. So Michael, what are we doing next time?
I keep finding myself feeling like I'm an idiot and I've moved things around, but I believe we're doing Green Street.
We are doing Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So join us for that in 2 weeks' time. So goodbye.